Peace and love to the family. This is your boy King Heru Breaks from the Breaks Tribe and the Get Righteous podcast on IG, YouTube, and all other platforms. Before we get into this nice short mini lecture called Sundown States and Towns, let's go ahead and give our shout outs to Be Seen Marketing LLC, ran by my cousin Zito, who also hosts the Get Righteous podcast with me. Shout out to myself and my company, Blazing at Medicals 420s LLC, dealing with CBD, CBG, and all the other good herbs for you. Also, I want to give a shout out to Bertie Sargent and the camp. I want to give a shout out to Big Bud Industries for always tapping in and locking in with us. Make sure y'all go rock out with them, check in with them on IG at Big Bud Industries. My brother's over there doing big things in business wise, black entrepreneurs. Things that we're gonna talk about today, as we talk about on any of my platforms, is black knowledge, black facts, black truth, real truth, and always African comedic history, no matter what day, time, or month it is. It's just not no February thing, you feel me? Today we're going to talk about Sundown States and Towns. Lecture on black people being told to leave a certain city or town before sundown. Now I know, some of us is thinking, okay, this is, some old truth, some old facts. Is that really going on now? It's 2022. We in a new age. Racism is done. Being prejudiced is done. Not necessarily, as we know. Today. And if you didn't know, Sundown States and Towns means that when the sun is starting to go down in certain states or towns, certain cities or towns, let me not say states because it's in all 50 states. We're going to get to that. But certain cities and certain towns used to have signs up, as you can see here, in a green book from a museum that you can read through and go through, letting you know where you were, what was going on, and what was happening around that time. So let's talk a little bit about sundown towns and cities as we read some of these facts and truths. We're taking this great and factual tidbit from Bishop David P. Mullen, D.D. from Victoria, Texas. He is you can look him up, a reverend. He's a reverend out in Texas, spreading, the word for those of y'all who follow religion, but also spreading the word to give, black folks and people around insight on what's going on, how we being treated, and things like that. As I told you, photocopy of the Green Book, reference below that you can flip through at the museum is on here. You'll be able to see the link in there where you can copy or go look up this stuff. Let's get to it though. A sundown or sunset town was a town, city, or neighborhood in the U.S. that excluded non-whites after dark. The term sundown came from the signs that were posted stating that people of color had to leave the town by sundown. In most cases, signs was placed at the town's borders which read, "Negro, don't let the sun set on you," here. The exclusion was official town's policy, custom, or through restrictive convenience agreed to by the local real estate agents. Often, the policy was enforced through intimidation. This intimidation could occur in a number of ways, including harassment by law enforcement officers or residents, in some circumstances, violence. Just by reading that part right there, we could all come up with a couple towns, a couple cities from where we're from that we know. When you drive through there, what you say? Don't get a DWB, right? We'll get into that. What you say? Well, we know how they act in here. We know how they come here. Let's not make sure we on our P's and Q's when we ride through this town. You know what I'm saying? And we say that right now in 2022. The facts that I'm bringing back is coming from not only the 1800s to the 1900s, but still in today's, active life. The phenomenon of sundown towns was the impetus of Harlem civil rights activist Victor Green to write the Negro Motorist Green Book. The Green Book, which detailed safe places for black travelers to rest and eat without fear of harassment, threats, or death. With the 1968 Fair Housing Act, sundown towns became illegal on paper. Many people are surprised to learn that some of the places they live were once sundown towns. The link below is a map of sundown towns in the U.S. You can click on, well, you can't click on it, but you can type that in, or just type in sundown towns by state, history into your Google, and it will pop up right for you. You can go ahead and click on it and get that. Added Wednesday, February 9th, 2022. If you made it this far, we just want to say first, thank you for sharing this post as far and wide as it has been. We never thought our little museum will go viral. This is just, the people that drop the facts, letting you know to always spread the information, always keep the information afloat, never stop spreading that truth, and never stop seeking the truth. A sundown town is not just a place where something racist happened. It is an entire community or even county that for decades was all white on purpose. All whites is in quotes because some towns allowed one black family to remain when they drove out the rest. Also, institutionalized persons in prisons, hospitals, colleges, Ethica, living servants, and white households, and black or interracial children and white households do not violate the taboo. On purpose does not require a formal audience. If, for example, a black family tried to move in and encountered considerable hostility and left, that would qualify the town as sundown. Note that some sundown towns kept out Chinese Americans, Jews, Mexican Americans, Native Americans, and so forth, as we know. Learning and dealing with racism, not only, learning these facts through school or research on your own, but just experiencing it out in the world. I'm from New Jersey. So, of course, when I got the list, the first thing I clicked on, which I stay in Georgia now, so I have to go back, click on the link again, which, matter of fact, the link is already up. And I'm going to go through Georgia and read through the Georgia towns and cities, but I definitely had to look up New Jersey, where I'm from. And a lot of us have been to these towns, stay in these towns, reside in these towns, and we know exactly what they're talking about. Not only because it's the 1980s, 1990s, but right here in the 2000s, we have experienced it. Myself have experienced it. So, it's nothing new. You know what I'm saying? So my Jersey people look at some of them towns, Long Valley, Mawa, come on, we know that. But Patterson, woo, Hillside, okay. Seaside Park, when we go to Seaside, you can have fun and, and enjoy the water, but you can't do too much, right? You can't do too much. So definitely go ahead and click on that link. Find out what towns and what city, what states have towns like this. And you may be able to point out which towns are active today, to today's date. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it moving though. Because, as I keep saying, when you think of the 1980s and the 1990s or the 1900s, 1800s, late 1800s, 1900s into now, the early 2000s, a lot of us, we walk around with that assumption that, racism, people being prejudiced, towns are not like that no more. They welcome, all ethnic backgrounds is a lie. You know what I'm saying? That's a damn lie. So we're gonna read recent reports. A recent report conducted by BuzzFeed revealed that sundown towns once thought to be a relic of the Jim Crow era are still proving to be a problem for black drivers in the 21st century. The extensive research revealed that at least 60 of Kentucky's 782 towns are considered sundown towns. By contrary to popular belief, this phenomenon doesn't just exist in the American South. In fact, all 50 states have at least one town that falls under this category. What's more, most of today's sundown towns are located in the Midwest. Prior to this current study, though, there were signs that there was trouble brewing for black travelers. In 2017, the NAACP issued a travel warning for the entire state of Missouri. The first time the entire state had been issued such a warning, that same travel warning was issued in 2020. We in 2022, 2 years ago, for San Antonio, Texas. Now, who want to visit San Antonio? You know what I'm saying? We hear about the Spurs, you know what I'm saying? We hear about how it's open down there, a beautiful scene. Why would you want to, visit San Antonio, Texas? It's 2022. Ain't no more racism. Ain't no more prejudice. By the defund San Antonio Police Department Coalition, who also labeled the Texas city a sundown town. 2020, right now active in 2022 in our daily life. If you want to know, I don't know the names of the movies. I'm pretty sure we can look them up or find them. There are 5 Hollywood movies about sundown towns, and all of them are set in Mississippi. Mississippi, one of the most racist states and places on the planet. The place where my grandfather, not no grandfather, even say, oh, that's my grandpa, this and the third. My real grandfather escaped the lynchings in Mississippi and went up north to live his life, to get away from the wild things happening down in the South. You know what I'm saying? So instead of 5 of them set in Mississippi, except one that's out in Georgia where I'm at, and I know how it is out here. So nobody got to tell me. You got to tell me nothing. I do the research wherever I go, wherever I'm at. It sets us back in race relations because the whole rest of the country is like, yeah, we're all right. This is a good country. Everything's fine, except those nasty white Southerns with all them shutdown towns. And they used to have slavery and all that. It's a national problem. It's more a Midwest problem than it is a Southern problem, he said. He also added that black travelers should check the only sundown registry that shows which towns qualify as sundown, and to bear in mind that until the American government actually does something about it, don't hold your breath. They will continue to be a problem. And that's facts. Just because, like as I said, we think everything is past. We think every time one of us teachers or truth seekers, researchers drop some facts, it's always old or it's always about the past to bring light to the past. But now we're bringing light to the past that's right now current in our future. So let's just read a little bit. So I had to go see what folks were saying. Folks was commenting, are there really sundown towns right now as we know it? Well, one person said, being a millennial living in Texas, it's been within my lifetime that I can remember seeing signs, child, and asking what that meant. Don't let the sun set on you was something I've seen as city limit signs twice. This shit isn't that old. That mentality still exists, and we need to be taught this history so we can understand the wounds it created and to not repeat it again. A year ago, Vendor, Texas is still openly proud of being a sundown town. No, Vidor. I'm sorry, I said vendor. Vidor, Texas is still openly proud of being a sundown town right now in 2022. Yeah, I definitely remember sundown towns being a thing throughout my early childhood in the 1980s. I always knew I grew up in a pretty racist area, but I went through the list of Texas sundown towns on this map, and there were 10. 10. This person said that a year ago, there were 10 sundown towns right now active in a 30-mile radius of their hometown. So, what we got to understand here is not only stay alert, be alert, as we already know, you know, coming from, African background, Kemetic background, we use black because that's the term and stuff that people know, but we're not using black as a color. It has nothing to do with us. We are carbonated, yes, and we understand what that is, but we are Kemetic people, African people, and this goes to the, I can say the Spanish. I'm not really gonna say too much to nobody else right now in 2022 because a lot of the oppression and a lot of the nastiness I see, is towards my people and towards a lot of the Spanish people. Not to say that it's not happening to nobody else, but let's stay alert. Let's keep up on these things. Let's research, dig in, know where you at, know where you about to bring your family when you moving, looking to move, looking to relocate. Look up that history, find out what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So you just don't back yourself up in a corner or place yourself somewhere where you really don't want to be. You know what I'm saying? Because looks, as we know, is deceiving. Anything can look good and look beautiful, but we want to say everything that's good and beautiful is for all, but still in 2022, we still have a group of people that don't see things that way. So let's stay level-headed always. Don't think with negative and angry thoughts. Stay positive. Keep your mind clear. Always read, always research, always tap into something or things that you hear or even things that you may not hear or know of. That's the key thing. And the lovely thing about research is to go ahead and open up a book. Go ahead, get on the Google. Go ahead, get on the search engine and start typing things up. Hopefully, and I know that this information was, something that you needed to hear and needed to know and want to know. Definitely spread it. Hit the like, share button. Definitely if it's on YouTube. If you see a clip on TikTok, hey man, follow, send it out for me. A clip on the IG to Get Right This podcast page or my personal page, King Heru Breaks. Definitely drop by. Build. If you got more facts, anything I say or bring up, definitely reach out and I'll try to get them out. But just wanted to make a quick short video for y'all. To start dropping some more things for y'all to keep y'all afloat on what's going on and what's happening. Thank y'all for listening, tapping in. This is King Heru Breaks of the Breaks tribe and the Get Right This podcast. Peace and love always, family.
Revealing a darker side of our Colorado history. Number 7's Micah Smith is telling the story of sundown towns where Coloradans of color were prevented from living.
The beauty of a sunset is captivating, but for decades in our country, the sun setting was an ominous reminder that Black people were entering the most dangerous time of day.
We don't necessarily have a complete record of all the sundown towns in Colorado. There are a few that posted banners or posted signs to make sure that people knew.
A sundown town was an all-white city that banned Black people from living within city limits or being in town after dark. Black American West Museum volunteer Terry Gentry says they were especially prevalent during the late 1800s and throughout the 1900s.
There were a lot of risks. You could either be harmed, you could be forced out of town, you could be killed. Just quite a few scary things happened.
But sundown towns were not a Southern invention. Most can be found across the North, the Midwest, and the West, with many right here in Colorado.
Louisville and Golden, parts of Colorado Springs,
Cherry Hills, and Loveland. A Loveland Reporter Herald article reveals in the early 1900s, Loveland neighborhoods and HOAs prevented anyone of color from buying a house there. At that time, Loveland had a large sign that read, "Welcome to Loveland, nationally famous sweetheart town," and a smaller sign underneath read, "We observe Jim Crow laws here."
We have a situation here where our culture, as expressed in Hollywood and to some extent in other media, puts this racism in the South where it isn't. This is the one form of severe racism that the traditional South did not do, but it's all across the North.
Sociologist and author of Sundown Towns, James Lowen, has studied sundown towns across the United States and uncovered thousands.
In suburbs, there are a lot of suburbs that were sundown towns. In fact, most suburbs, about 70–80% of the suburbs of Los Angeles, the suburbs of Chicago, suburbs of Detroit.
And Lowen says that's why we still have Colorado cities that have virtually no residents of color.
But I have to say that most towns, and I suspect almost all former sundown towns in Colorado, have given up the practice.
But Lowen said we still feel the implications today.
What we have to watch for now is what we call second-generation sundown town issues. And that's, for example, an overwhelmingly white police force, overwhelmingly white teaching staff that doesn't have much of an interracial curriculum to teach either.
Lowen